Right, it's been 7 weeks since I started a body fat loss challenge with a couple of friends. And before I started the challenge, I was eating a high carbohydrate diet because I went on holiday in Europe and I was doing other stuff, having fun with friends. And I looked like this. And then after 7 weeks, changing my diet to a carnivore diet and eating a lot of red meats, basically 600 grams a day of beef and lamb and 6 eggs a day, my appearance looked completely different. So I dropped 6 kgs of body weight and 4% body fat without lowering my caloric intake. I just changed my diet. And if you don't believe that is possible, then you can go and join any of the carnivore diet groups on Facebook. There's even a carnivore bodybuilding group, and you can ask the people there, okay? Now, this doesn't work if your body fat percentage is already low and you are healthy, but if you are hormonally unhealthy or you have a high body fat percentage, then just changing your diet from a high carbohydrate diet, especially if it is ultra processed foods, to healthy foods, and especially a very high meat-based and egg-based diet, then you will automatically lose weight as you regain your hormonal health. And there's a lot of fear of red meats and eggs. A lot of people think they're unhealthy, especially the egg yolks, and I just want to address that in this video, that is not true. In fact, red meat and eggs are superfoods. Okay, so let me talk about eggs first. Okay, eggs are a perfect capsule for creating life. A chick comes out of an egg, so the egg itself has to have all the essential nutrients for creating a chick. And eggs, including the yolk, have a perfect ratio of essential amino acids for muscle growth in humans. But a lot of bodybuilders, amateur bodybuilders, they cut out the egg yolk because they follow diet templates from pro bodybuilders who are on steroids, and they don't realize the actual good stuff is in the yolk because of all the micronutrients plus the cholesterol, which is essential for making testosterone. And eggs have a lot of the essential vitamins and also minerals such as iodine and selenium, which are very important for overall health. And eggs have choline, which is essential for brain function. So if you give a lot of eggs to children, it helps their brain and nerve growth, okay? And if you give a lot of eggs to older people, their cognitive function will improve, such as what this study showed, which I'll put in the link in the video description, all right? So older people who ate a lot of eggs, their cognitive function and their memory were better compared to their peers who did not eat eggs, right? So do not fear eggs. In fact, this researcher for Harvard ate 24 eggs a day for an entire month, and his blood cholesterol didn't go up, right? So do not fear eggs, and make sure you eat the egg yolk as well. And I would recommend basically a guy should eat 4 to 6 eggs a day, and the woman should eat 3 to 4 eggs, all right? Although you don't have to do 24 eggs a day, all right? That's a bit too much. You probably find it impossible to stuff that much. I give that guy a credit for doing that research on himself. Red meats are more controversial, although we've basically been hunting animals and eating red meats for at least 200,000 years, okay? We used to hunt animals which don't even exist now, and Native Americans used to hunt bison, and tribal people around the world used to hunt and also have perfect health and not chronic diseases, okay? They used to just die from injury or infectious diseases, but they had no chronic diseases. And if you look at this picture, tribal people used to have perfect teeth. It is only after they started eating Western diets with high agricultural products that they started having problems because with their teeth, because the nutrient density of their diet decreased, and also carbohydrates is what causes tooth decay and gum problems. And if you don't believe that, you can put a piece of bread in your mouth, and after 30 seconds, it will start to taste sweet. And the bacteria basically breaks down the carbohydrates in your mouth, and the byproducts of their metabolism is what causes the tooth decay. If you only eat meat and eggs, you won't even need to go and visit the dentist. A lot of people don't know that. So Before we go on about why red meats are bad, let me say that red meats, basically beef, again, has all the essential amino acids in very high dose, and it is basically like a multivitamin and multi-mineral complex as well. So it has all the B vitamins in very high dose. It has a high dose of vitamin A and D. It is very high in zinc and cholesterol, which are very important precursors for testosterone. It is why my testosterone level in the last 15 months has gone up from 500 to just over 1,000, which is extremely high for a 45-year-old. And beef has a lot of iron as well. So a lot of people think that spinach, for example, is a very good source of iron, but the bioavailability, which means the amount of iron which can actually be used by the body from spinach, is only 3%, but it is 20% in beef, all right? So you have to eat a ton of spinach to get all the iron that you actually need in your diet, but you can get it pretty easily by just eating some beef, okay? So why do people fear beef so much? Because of official guidelines, okay? It all started in the 1950s because of this guy, Ansel Keys, who I've talked about in previous videos, but basically he cherry-picked his data in a study to try and prove that his hypothesis that saturated fats from red meats were causing heart attacks, and that is not true. And basically he cheated in his study, and he is also the guy who created the Mediterranean diet, okay? So he basically said that the people around the Mediterranean, especially in Crete where he did his study, that's part of Greece, they eat a healthy diet full of veg and fish, but he eliminated the red meats from that diet, even though anyone who's actually been to Greece knows that the most famous dishes in Greece are actually basically lamb and beef dishes, and people around the Mediterranean eat a very high amount of red meats. So saying that the people in the Mediterranean actually don't eat red meats is like saying people in Japan don't eat fish, okay? You can be very healthy eating red meats, all right? And then in the late 1970s, okay, in 1977, the US Department of Agriculture formulated its nutritional guidelines to try and push grain sales, okay? They were just trying to help the farmers sell more grains and telling the population to eat more grains, and that has nothing to do with actual health, but grain sales, okay? And in the 1980s, there was a big marketing campaign to try and push grain sales, talking about how whole grains and fiber is very important to health, but all that happened as a result is that Americans got really fat and really sick as they shifted off healthy, high-fat diets from butter and meats and shifted to high-grain diets, and then ultimately to ultra-processed foods, which are all made from grains, all right? So like potato chips are made from potatoes, obviously, but the most processed foods are made from soy or corn. So there's a big commercial interest in pushing grain sales and lowering red meat intake. And another reason why a lot of people think that red meats are unhealthy is because of the World Health Organization, who 6 years ago came out with a study done by IARC. IARC is the cancer research arm of the World Health Organization, saying that red meats cause colon cancer and will up cancer rates. And on the WHO websites, it lists processed meats as a definite cause of cancer, and also red meats as a probable cause of cancer, okay? And most people won't even know the research details. They'll just hear stuff on websites and think that red meats cause cancer, which is not the case at all, because the WHO in their studies literally did not prove anything. Now, let me explain this. So the WHO studies were epidemiological studies, okay? Now, epidemiology tries to look at one set of data and compare it to another set of data, and then try to draw a possible correlation between the data, okay? But it does not show causation, okay, that one thing causes another thing, all right? So let me give you an example. If a bunch of people went to the beach for an entire summer and they didn't put sunblock on and they were in the sun for 6 hours a day, and then at the end of the summer, a whole bunch of them got skin cancer, but at the same time, throughout the summer, they ate ice cream, then you can draw the data for the ice cream consumption and plot it against the increased cancer rates, and then say that, oh, ice cream is correlated to skin cancer, all right? Although you know that there's actually zero link between it, but just the data points, you can show a correlation. And that's why epidemiology is a very, very inaccurate science, okay? Now, I know a lot of people who are into research will probably say, well, epidemiology is what was used to prove that smoking caused disease, caused lung cancer, etc. But the difference in the risk ratio, okay, the relative risk between smokers and non-smokers is 3,000%. Okay, it is a 30-fold increase in the chance of getting lung cancer. While for red meats, the studies that the WHO did, it was only 10%. Okay, plus they used very inaccurate self-reporting methods, getting the subjects they studied to report on their own diets from years ago. Okay, I can't even remember what I ate 1 year ago, let alone, years ago. And then they also classified sources such as lasagna or beef from burgers as the source of the red meat. But that comes with a lot of other things which could have been causing the cancer, right? And I'm going to talk about it, like what the real cause of the cancer should really be looked at as. There's a good reason why the WHO will want to do stuff like this. Now, if you go back and think about at the beginning of the COVID epidemic, the WHO told countries not to ban flights from China at the very beginning of the epidemic, okay? And as a result, people who were infected flew and spread the virus across the world much more rapidly than if they had banned flights. And there's a reason the WHO probably did that. Okay, I'm not going to say they definitely did it, but probably might have been because China was the second biggest funder for the WHO at the time. And the WHO policies has a lot to do with who funds the WHO, okay? And one of the biggest funders for the WHO is now the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Okay, Bill Gates has a big obsession right now with climate change, and he wants to drive down red meat intake and promote more soy intake instead. Okay, eating and producing fake meats from it. Okay, in fact, although he gives the WHO between $350 and $750 million a year through his foundation, his net worth has increased because of the policies that he is able to push through the WHO. He is actually able to make money of investments that he makes related to those policies. Okay, and that includes investing in the COVID vaccine companies, buying land for soy production and fake meat production, okay? So there's actually a financial interest for Bill Gates to apply pressure or convince the WHO to give certain guidelines. Guess what? It pays to put people on unhealthy diets so that they have to pay for more healthcare and medication, all right? Guess how much money is made? In the US alone, healthcare spending in 2022 was $4.5 trillion, okay? That's 600 times more than the FIFA World Cup in 2022, and it's more than 5 times the annual defense budget of the US military, okay? So the US military is known for how powerful it is. US healthcare spending alone is more than 5 times US defense spending, and is now the biggest industry in the US, the biggest single industry, and it covers stuff like the pharmaceutical industry and the medical insurance industry. And there is a huge push by these industries to fund research, such as the epidemiological research, which are not accurate. So it keeps people on unhealthy diets and away from what is actually healthy. And there are people out there who live an unhealthy lifestyle anyway, but what pisses me off is when people are trying to live a healthy lifestyle, but because of this unhealthy, inaccurate guidelines, they end up being unhealthy. Now, for example, I've seen friends on Facebook who have been sick, and then they advise people to go and eat a high plant-based fruit and veg diet. But what they don't realize is what was causing their sickness was most probably all the pesticides and herbicides being sprayed on the plant material. And I've already talked about how glyphosate, especially the brand Roundup, has now been proven to be a carcinogen, yet it is not on the WHO categorization. And Monsanto and Bayer have been sued successfully for $11 billion so far for Roundup, which is a glyphosate brand. And glyphosate is a carcinogen, plus it destroys the gut lining and it destroys the gut microbiome and kills a lot of the bacteria in the gut. And yet that is openly sprayed in a lot of countries in the US, in Australia. But that is not listed on as a carcinogen by the WHO, but red meats are, okay? And again, it has a lot to do with the agricultural policies of member nations, because monocrops are much bigger crops. And also it has a lot to do with global warming issues as well. So the cows burp and fart and they produce methane, and that's meant to be a gas which increases global warming. But, and I know a lot of people say, oh, they don't even believe in climate change. I think climate change is a very real thing, but agriculture only contributes 5% to all the greenhouse gases, all right? If you were really concerned about climate change, then you should not turn on your heating in the winter or your air conditioning in the summer, because energy from heating homes and cooling homes make up the vast majority of energy output, which energy consumption, which produces CO2. And also, if you take a short haul flight, you're going to produce more CO2 going on holiday than eating beef for an entire year. And if you go on a long haul flight, then you produce more CO2 than somebody from a developing nation uses in an entire year. So don't go on holiday anymore, okay? And don't take cars, don't take any transportation that requires burning fossil fuels. Just ride a bike to everywhere, all right? Basically, and don't buy new products, because every product that you consume basically requires CO2 and has a carbon footprint. But they don't blame it on that stuff and on red meats, because it's an easier scapegoat to blame it on a food product, right? Which is a very small revenue source compared to the amount of money made for other products. And in fact, in COP 29, which is the climate change conference they've just had, where all the countries in the world came together, the Arab countries said they would boycott that conference if there was any statement categorically labeling fossil fuels as the main problem for climate change, okay? So then it is much easier to go and just blame red meats than fossil fuels. So if you really do care about the climate, then walk away everywhere and cycle everywhere and don't ever go on holiday, okay? But the problem is not red meats, okay? Make sure that you improve your health by eating lots of red meat and eggs, all right? Now, do me a favor, like the video and subscribe to the channel, because Jose the cow, okay, died for the making of this video. And if you wonder why Jose is the sacrificial cow for this video, it is because I eat grass-fed beef from South America, all right? Pretty much the highest quality beef that you can get, okay? So, yeah, his name's Jose, all right? Now, remember to eat lots of red meat. Don't fear it, and remember to eat lots of eggs, and you'll naturally find that your health will improve. And if you're a guy, get a blood test done before you do it, and I guarantee you after a few months, if you eat a high red meat and eggs-based diet, then your testosterone levels will go up, okay? So until next time, remember to stay healthy and stay off the ultra-processed foods. If you are going to eat plant-based, don't eat plants which have been sprayed by glyphosate, the real cancer-causing agent, and not red meats, okay?